Uncertainty about the status of the latest peace effort between the U.S. and Iran. While both sides say a deal is close, there are differing accounts from what may be in it. Fox News correspondent Lucas Tomlinson has more from the White House.
Says Iran will not be receiving any cash up front or sanctions relief for signing the Memorandum of Understanding. He adds, if the Islamic Republic of Iran meets its obligations, then economic benefits will flow to them and to the entire region. The contours of the agreement look like this, according to the U.S. Highly enriched material destroyed, taken out of the country. Iran not to procure or build a nuclear weapon indefinitely. Allow inspections to ensure compliance, end funding to terrorist networks, and open the Strait of Hormuz. When asked when Iran could first see sanctions relief, a senior administration official tells Fox, quote, the president has said his highest priority is getting the enriched material out of the country, destroying it. So they have to do some things related to that in order to get any sanctions relief. President Trump shot down rumors that Iran would maintain control over the Strait of Hormuz. The terms that Iran leaked out to the fake news have nothing to do with the terms that were agreed to in writing. Iran's foreign minister sounding optimistic today. The Islamabad Memorandum of Understanding has never been closer. Pakistan's prime minister, who brokered the highest level talks between the U.S. and Iran in nearly 50 years, agrees. We can confirm that a final agreed upon text of the peace deal has been reached, and Pakistan is now working closely with both sides to finalize the next steps. Peace has never been this close as it is now. U.S. officials say the signing of this memorandum could take place as soon as this weekend. Reuters is reporting the UAE is set to release billions of dollars in frozen assets. UAE denies the claim. At the White House, Lucas Tomlinson, Fox News.
Fox News correspondent Lucas Tomlinson. On top of that report, we are approaching 9:12 p.m. on the East Coast, taking another live look here at the White House as we continue to talk about the situation in the Middle East. Pakistan's prime minister said the United States and Iran have agreed to a wording of an agreement aimed at ending the war in the Middle East. This comes after the U.S. and Iran exchanged airstrikes this week, despite a ceasefire, yet a fragile one. Joining us to discuss the latest is UCLA political scientist Benjamin Radd. Hey there, good evening to you.
Hi, good evening.
So Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif said the U.S. and Iran has reached a, quote, final agreed upon text. Is this the farthest we've gotten in peace talks?
Well, it certainly sounds like it. I mean, we've heard rhetoric like this before, only to see a deal unravel at the last minute due to changes or insistence upon language being put in by one side or the other. But as of now, it seems like there is something for both sides to announce, but it remains to be seen.
And once the text is signed off on, what are the next steps?
The next steps will be, depending on what the text says on how implementation will be done, what are the first steps? Is it the release of funds that the United States is having held and then opening up the straits right away? That seems to be what each side is putting as a priority. And so, but I think, again, until we see the text, we won't know what the exact sequence will be, but I suspect it will begin with the release of funds, followed by opening the strait, and then beyond there, we'll be setting up a 60-day period for discussions on the future of Iran's nuclear program.
Benjamin, will this have any impact on fighting in Lebanon?
So the Iranian insistence is that the fighting in Lebanon also stop during the 60-day period. The challenge here is that Israel is not a party to this deal. Now, President Trump can pressure the Israelis in a way to basically put conditions on Israel that it will not be engaged in fighting, but it remains to be seen, again, whether that's going to be explicitly part of the language. But as of now, all hints indicate that it will be. So we can restrain Hezbollah, most likely, in order to comply with the terms of the deal.
And we've spoke so much about the nuclear deal. Benjamin, I wanted to ask you, what details about Iran's nuclear program are you expecting to see sorted out over the next 60 or so days?
Well, that's a sticking point. There is a question of the highly enriched uranium that Iran already has. There's also the question of the centrifuges. There's a question of the missile development that's used to carry, or the warhead that would be developed to carry a nuclear payload. Now, Iran has maintained that it has no interest in creating a nuclear weapon. But the facts demonstrate that it's enriching uranium beyond the point that would be used for civilian purposes, for medical purposes. What happens in the future of that program? Will Iran be allowed to retain any nuclear enrichment capability for energy use, for, again, civilian use, or have they forfeit that right under what the U.S. would see as based on its actions of the last 5, 10, 15 years? So, again, the fine language of the deal will tell us exactly what those protocols will look like.
Waiting on the fine language in that deal, but I did want to ask you, this is a thought I had as I was reporting on this. Has the U.S. given any indication on who will take charge of removing that enriched uranium or how they'll do it?
We've heard the president say that it would be the United States that would go in and do it. I doubt that that would be the case. It will be some international, some third party, whether it's the Pakistanis, whether it's one of the Gulf states doing it. Is it the Russians? Is it the Chinese? All of this is speculative until we see exactly whether that's even in the deal.
And of course, the Strait of Hormuz is another sticking point. It has been throughout this conflict, began in February. Do you believe that Iran will fight to keep their toll system in place on the Strait of Hormuz in a long-term deal?
The reason I think yes, I think that's a great question, is because Iran has learned that this is the one leverage that it has. If there is a violation of this deal going forward under this president, under another president, Iran has proven, or it has seen as a result of the last few months, that control of the strait is really the one power play that it has, the one pressure point that it can exact on the United States, on other states that have disproportionate military capability over Iran. So for Iran to forfeit this leverage entirely would be a big move, a big step. I don't see this current government, the regime, the way it's comprised of now, giving that up unless they get something substantial in return, which would be an end to all sanctions, let's say, a withdrawal of U.S. forces from the entirety of the Middle East, things of that nature. That's where I see this deal possibly falling apart at the last minute.
Just about a day ago, we did hear the president say that signing of a deal could potentially happen this very weekend. Do you think that's probable, or do you think it'll take a little bit more time?
I think it might take a little bit more time. I think until we see evidence of a draft of the deal or some language that really addresses some of these points I just brought up, including the future of the nuclear program and whether or not Iran will maintain any control of the strait, I really anticipate that still needs to go back and forth. I think they're close, but I think there's an artificial deadline of Sunday, and I don't think it needs to be Sunday.
All right, Benjamin Radd, we thank you so much for coming on Live Now from Fox.